I just go to interest in these beans anyway. Obviously, I'm involved in these beans. So would they? And so if we look at the so you can see if I just throw the fibs over this last range, you can see this low here was a major support from the 4th. Getting a bit of a lift up here, nothing great. Daily is the daily bar is questionable unless we can close higher today. So the actual futures market closes at 20 past 7 UK time. So if we can close anything above 840, that could give us a clue that we're going to get some momentum up here. So I said to everybody I was going to talk about the short. Let's go. We're here to talk about day trading, so let's just talk about some day trading for a while. And you can see this resistance level up here in the Dow. The 24,060 is a fib level I've got. This is fib to 2019. And did a great short in the room today. Missed the re-entry, was a shame. But we'll talk about the. So I shorted that resistance level and left it overnight, and I'll show you why. Simply because this is a 30-minute chart. Doesn't matter what time frame it is. Could be a 60-minute, 30-minute, and we had a signal yesterday at 5:30 off of this fib zone. This pink zone here is marking off the fib zone, which also was used on the 1st of May for a drop. Now that 1st of May drop went as far as 23,330, and you can see again we are under this trend line. The this resistance is holding at the moment, and they are just not buying it at the moment. And so anyway, that's why I took the short. I took the short at just before 8 o'clock, just into 8 o'clock. Took about 20 pips worth of heat, 25 pips worth of heat. Now, you may think, well, Mike, that's 3 higher closes in the 30-minute charts. Yeah, you're right. So at one stage I thought it may not work, but I do find that if you get a sell signal, the markets do like to go and retest it. And there's some other factors. We came up on low volume, or certainly in this last push up here. The higher the higher we got, the lower the volume. And what else? I think also that the market didn't behave as I would expect it during the open. Very shallow pullbacks, and the actual punch higher was very shallow, and we were sitting at extension levels into that for most of the session. So the fact we were sitting at extension levels early on in the session, that always triggers an alert in my mind as to what you can do with that chart. So that's the reason. So despite the 4 higher closes in a 30-minute chart, whoops, I keep doing that, don't I? Sorry. I still went short into the last hour and got 320 pips off of that. I posted it in the room. I've got I could probably find the post somewhere. Said I'm shorting the Dow here. My stop was 145. My target was 800. I posted that at 12 minutes to 8 last night, and that worked very well for me. So let's come away from that. So anyway, and we shorted the open today. It was a really, really neat move for us actually. The scalper score system was pitch perfect today. There's the range. We got a really good entry as well. That's the first 10-minute range, is that right? Let's have a look. Yeah. So I narrowly missed a re-entry. I had a ticket up there at 986. I got too greedy. Most times the level I predicted was a level I use in scalper score all the time, and unfortunately today of days they just got in front of that and started to short in front of that. And again, you know, look at the point in which I was talking about a short, the point in which I was talking about selling this market. The market had already had, you know, quite a significant move up from, I went down as far as 750 again. That's a 200 pip move up, and I'm still looking to sell the market. So I was at that point, but unfortunately I took my order off in the end. Once we got down here, I just left the order off. So, you know, if you're day trading, applying a system, it was very frustrating yesterday. I applied the system yesterday and had to wait until, you know, the last hour of trading before I got a system signal. So yeah, but at least I got it though. At least I got that 320 pips into the close. That was worth it. All right, so let me go to the 4-hour chart. This is my 4-hour chart in the Dow. So if I'm planning intra-week.
Right, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, go on.
About today, the scalper score. Can you just go? I'm just looking at what you did, because the day that I wasn't there today, that's why it went.
Okay.
That's why it went so well for you today. The angel of death.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. So can I just check that the entry level, the range that you were looking at was between 24,049 at the top. So the opening range was 24,049 and 23,987.
Yes. I'll tell you what. I've deliberately put the video in the Telegram room.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted you to watch it.
Fine. Because I just want to check because basically the first bar that set the range, then the next, then halfway through that range would be like 24,025, say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I didn't want to go through it is because we've got people in the room who are not scalper school graduates, and I didn't want to give the system away.
My only question really is that you didn't cross the midline again. You didn't.
The entry was the MP today.
Yeah, you entered and then you immediately breached, but it didn't come back up to midline. So that's all I wanted to do.
Have a look at the video because you can see exactly. I describe it in minute detail. So
okay, I'll watch it. Thank you. Yeah, that's fine. I'll watch it.
Look at the detail, but really wanted as many people as possible to see it. So
no, that's fine. That's fine. I will watch it. Okay, thank you.
Because it won that to work. So
yeah, okay, fine. Thank you.
How this 4-hour chart? Actually, if I put the fibs on, let's take this off. I put the fibs on this latest range and count this as a major resistance area to now fib. You can see that on when we came into this, when we opened on Sunday and then subsequently came into, saw the European market open and subsequently US market, they bought this fib level 23,340 and then took it up to about, this is, yeah, they've taken it up to the midpoint of this particular range. And at the moment we are selling. So we got US jobs on Friday. So if you eyeball it, that's, you know, roughly 50% of that move. So and that alone was worth about 300 pips at the moment. So that is, so at the moment where overall in the where we are in the weekly, we are As far as I'm concerned, we're still bearish. All the time we're under this pink area. I think any shorts into that pink area, particularly after last week's pin bar, I think any area into that is still shortable, and I would still short unless we close above that 24,000 on Friday. That was my plan for the weekend. That's what I've been doing over the last 2 days, and that's generated, well, 2 calls generated 520 pips. Pity I missed the last entry, otherwise that would have taken me up to about 700 or 800. So that's going okay at the moment. And let's have a look. Let's look at the pound US dollar, because this is really neutral at the moment. I'm interested in the pound US dollar because I think this could give us the heads up on the potential for the Dow. If we, obviously we could look at the dollar index, but I thought we might as well stay close to home and just have a look at this one, so you can see how we're in this same neutral area that we were in from December 16, March 17, and so we had this drastic 2-week sell into early to mid-March, popped back up. At the moment we are potentially rolling over. I think what's most interesting is the pattern in the daily chart, and very nice. It's the hangover from. Actually, if I extend this one, I'll leave it. You can see this. It's only a 2-wave touch up there at the moment. So if we come back up there any time in the next few weeks and test that 126 and fail, then that could really accelerate the fall off in this pound. However, if we're not going to get a 3-wave touch, 3-wave is my favorite pattern, so at the moment we're only living with 2. If the pound is not going to go back up there and we start closing under this 123, then I will attempt to short into this area here to see if we can get back down to 121, 122. But back, let's just talk about day trading more. We'll talk about some stocks in a minute. Let's just go up to, let's have a look at the day trading aspect of this one. I haven't day traded the Forex for a while now. Let's have a look at the London Open. Very nice day to have traded the pound. We've got Bank of England tomorrow at 7 AM. I've never known them do 7 AM. Must be the new governor's thing, because traditionally it's 12 midday. So they're going to give us all the results. Well, they're going to tell us what we already suspect at 7 AM tomorrow. So here's the London Open. Let's just wing that across. There's the London Open, very narrow range. Initially, it looks as if it's going to hold. Because well, that's prior to the open, isn't it? Okay, so we pushed up. They took it where they didn't want it to go, and then just dragged the whole thing down. So this is one reason why I don't trade Forex very much, because it's not as reliable as indices. We'll go through the DAX in a minute. So we're up here at 820. So we were back down. We were breaking that range to the short side at 10 to 9. Pulled back in the very next bar, right on that open level. And then, what, about an hour later, we were a significant number of pips lower. So it was tricky because it threw in a false breakout, false move in the first hour, but very, very quickly triggered the other side, came out the other side into the second hour of the day. So if you're patient, which trigger should you take? Well, if you get some bigger time frames. Let's have a look at 30-minute on the pound. One thing you could do is just range last big move. Where were we this morning? This morning we were, yeah, that first half hour nudged us right into the 50%. But we didn't close above, so there's some clues in that 30-minute chart because we didn't close above that 124.45.50. So there's definitely some clues there. A lot of selling over here. Well, let's say a lot of selling, some selling over here. So what we've done is it pushed it back into resistance. That was attempting to operate as support for a long period. The very next bar, the safer way to trade it is to short it lower down once you get confirmation. So that's the engulfing bar at 9 o'clock. Very hardly any sort of pullback. It just continues for half an hour and then drifts lower on any subsequent highs. So that, yeah, if you're day trading Forex, make sure you're aware. Day trading anything, just make sure you've got the bigger picture. Don't throw your charts open and see a buy, look in small time frames, see a buy signal and jump in, because if they're just taking it in a direction where they don't want it to go, then you're going to get a stop out and you're going to get distracted. At the very least, you're going to get distracted and potentially confused. So patience was the name of the game in that one. And that was in line with this daily overhang we've got here. That's a really nice, that's a beautiful sell signal on the 6th of March, but we've got another overhang into last Thursday. It looked bullish. The one thing that annoys me with some of these brokers, the IG index, very big broker, one of the biggest brokers out there, they sent out a buy signal for the pound at around about the 125 mark. So I guess their system was saying, right, that's a big push up in the daily. So they suggested to their clients they should buy 125. I don't know what the stock, I don't know the actual details of what they said, but I've been told by a member that they were sending out buy signals at 125, 126. So crazy. I think that's the reason why you need to be in control of your preparation. You need to trade in a plan and a pattern that suits you and the time frames that you want to operate in. So if you don't want to beat your charts for very much, for as little as possible during the week, you need to scale up to much bigger time frames. You'll have fewer trades, but potentially greater profits. If you want to be a day trader and you want to exploit these moves and maybe have a core swing position and then exploit the leverage, you can do that. You have a simple system, but just make sure you've got a system that works. Make sure you've got a system that you trust. Right.
Mike,
so
sorry, Mike, another question. What is the difference between a mini and a normal? Like the USD mini, what's the difference to the other?
The size of the contract. You have what's called for the S&Ps. You have what's called an E-mini. It's a half-size contract. So you're using less leverage, basically. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah. So why would you recommend that we trade the normal or the mini?
Well, if you're trading futures, then definitely mini. If you're trading in these retail brokers accounts, is it the retail broker account that's giving you the two options?
It's Pro. I'm just looking at the chart package.
Oh, you look at Pro real time.
Yeah, and it's got two options. One is GBP USD mini and one is GBP USD.
Oh, now I'm with you. Yeah, that's I don't use platform to trade Forex. So I think it's, yeah, there's different levels of leverage.
One is currencies mini.
Yeah, there must be different levels. Certainly in futures language, that will be different leverages, and the mini will be a much lesser leverage. But I don't know that particular contract personally, so I'd have to go and look into that.
Okay.
But I mean, when again, like anything else, once Forex breaks the pattern, for some really great moves. So at the moment, if we down here at 122, 123, that could really give a nice. We're creating a box in the meantime. So it's just a question of whether we can come out of that and close underneath that for some decent levels. Who knows? Maybe even back down to that 114, 115. So the jury's out. If you could, one of the ways you could have done that is trade that in a 4-hour chart. Stop above the highs. So you get it, if you take a 4-hour signal, you're getting in fairly high up here. I see I marked off this resistance. It was a repeat of the 14th of April, last Thursday, on the 30th of April. And you know we're going to be wrong. If you go to stop above that 126.50, if it pops up there, the chances are you are going to be wrong. And it's not attempted to get anywhere near that at the moment. So you get the sell signal at 8 o'clock that night. You could have shorted that 125, 126. So it's a relatively small stop really. Coming into trend line support with a prospect of closing under 123 for a further drop, or we get a higher close here, then that you could drop your stop right down to lock in profits and walk away if you get stopped out. If you don't get stopped out, then you could potentially have some a swifter move back down to the support, back down to the next level. So that's one way of, that's trading a 4-hour chart. So we've talked about trading a 5-minute chart in the London Open. We've talked about 4-hour chart. We've talked about trading dailies, because the one thing that is not shown on this chart is that's actually an 89-day average up there at the high. Let's put an 89-day average on there. So this could be a stock, it could be an index, it could be anything. This applies, you can scale this up and down to any market. That's the 89-day average. I use an 89-day average because it's the one that appears to be respected on some of these bigger picture trades. So all the time we're under that 89-day average, you got the potential to keep shorting any highs and see if we can. So interesting enough here on the 9th of March with a nice pin bar sell off a resistance. So on the 10th, we pull back to about 50% of the bar. Now I normally go in about 30% if we're going to take a trade like that. That goes slightly higher. That's just a rule of thumb which I apply on trades like that where you've got key signals. And obviously if you're trading that as a longer term trade, you will need to get your stop at least on the previous day's high. So if you're later into that, you will need a bigger stop. If you are trading that intraday, you can get a 60-70 pip trade on that on a long-term trade, which is nice and tight. Something to consider if you, depending on how much time you are prepared to give to trading. Right, let's look at some commodities and then we will then we can look at a few stocks and then we'll close up. I don't want to do a particularly long session because at the moment the markets are just sort of, I feel as if the markets are just waiting to get non-farm payroll out of the way at the moment anyway. Anyway, this, what have we got? Oil. So this is the same chart pattern as the pound on that April 30th. We are still interesting to note how far away we are from the 89-day average. But this chart pattern has kicked in with the oil today just as it kicked in on the pound on the 30th. So potentially, like the market is closing. Right, the old pit close used to be 7:30 on in the evening. Obviously, you don't have pits anymore. The electronic market closes, I think it's about 10:30 on oil. So if we close at that level and as far down as here, potentially that's a short at 25.30 with a stop above 27.60. If that looks as if that wants to get down to 20.90, if we close underneath that, we could come all the way back down to 15. We've come up on low volume. So as the market's gone up, the volume has tailed off. So that's we have come up to the midline on this oscillator and potentially looking as if we're going to stay under the midline. We've lost momentum. We've certainly lost momentum up there. And so that is potentially a good place to get short. If you want to get long oil, if you are looking to get into oil, then I would look to see if that 2021 is going to come back down and hold. We come back down there and hold, then I would start to buy. I get a stop underneath 1930, buy around about 2021, and then see if we can come and close this gap up here at 40. So oil is short-term bearish with the potential to get back up to that gap at 40. Okay, so that's a really interesting level to watch. Let's look at gold. Gold's not having it. Seeing some dollar strength, as you can see from that pound. So gold, I'm looking for a retest of 1643 at this stage.
Sorry, Mike, I've got another question.
Go on.
Going back to oil just for a second, because isn't the 21st of May going to be an important date for oil in terms of short? Isn't it likely that storage is going to run out, or is that?
We got contract changeover at 21st of May, so I think that is definitely something to put in your diary. Yes.
As we wind our way towards that,
yeah, I think I've been just listening to Bloomberg. I listened to Bloomberg for half an hour today, and they were talking about how many more states are lifting restrictions. And I've listened to some oil experts over the last couple of days. They're talking about consumption levels drifting up and more storage facilities becoming available. So, but I'm perfectly happy. My sort of attitude towards oil is to stick to these technicals and be very focused on that $21 for a pullback. And if I start to see that hold, I mean, not going to give it a lot of room, just in case it turns around on me. I'll keep my stop close to that 4th of May low. Just tuck it under that 4th of May low and then see if we can, like I said, reach for that $40. Okay. I would be more than happy for oil to come down to 18. But if we subsequently then close above 20, I mean, so I'm just going to take it one day at a time and let it wiggle around. Now we've hit that major resistance, and then see what it gives us.
Okay, thank you.
What else am I interested in? Anybody?
You were just looking at golds when I interrupted.
Yeah. I've not got anything more to say to gold. I'm going to set an alert for that 1643, 1644. I had a couple of alerts that I've set and not been triggered, which have caused me to miss trades recently. So I will reevaluate that if that continues lower. Anyway, one trigger I had set which didn't work was on this sugar. Stay on the subject of yeah, I had an alert set down here. I was hoping it's going to come and do a proper test of that 300, and it didn't do it. So I wasn't aware of the fact that sugar was bouncing here. No pullbacks, two big gaps up. So I'm going to sit tight, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that signal up. I'm going to delete that signal. Set another one. Set the signal at 320. The alert, I should say, the alert. Whoops. And see if that sugar can do me the honour of coming back to that 330 support, 320 support. Otherwise, I'm staying out. And other commodities. Well, I was looking at wheat. Quick look at wheat. Neutral to bullish at the moment. So I need a good close on that today, ideally. So as with beans, I need this one to close above 525 to signal that's got more upside. Otherwise, that's not going to do much. Let's go back now. Let's switch to stocks. Let's look at some UK ones. We'll catch up with the ones we've been talking about recently anyway. Let's start with Barclays. Mr. Boris Johnson's supposed to be making announcements on lifting restrictions tomorrow, isn't he? I think.
Sunday,
right, okay. So Barclays, good old 99, that will make sense. If we come down to 99 and hold, or that trend line, I'm not saying it is going to go down there, but at the moment it looks likely. So lower close today, so short term looks lower. Let's see if we can, volume's really dropping off, so it's not a healthy one at the moment. Lloyd's, excuse me, just take a sip of drink a minute. Lloyd's, we've got the famous pink zone there at 29.80. I wouldn't mind betting more. If we dip in there and come straight out, that could give us scope to go to 35. Standard Chartered. That's weaker than expected. I thought Standard Chartered would sit up a bit better than that. So I'm certainly not going to touch this one anytime soon at the moment. What I'd like to see in Standard Chartered, I'd love to see that get down to 370, 375 and then close above it. Then I would risk some capital on it. In the meantime, I'm out. I'm not touching it. Let's look at next. Let's look at a retailer just to get a feel for any levels of confidence in the market. It's holding up. I certainly wouldn't want to buy that, but it's trying to hold up. I think we'd easily see 42.50 on that at the moment. but I'm not trading anyway, so it doesn't matter. BT. BT, you've got results tomorrow. So we had that big drop on Monday, which got bought. We've closed lower again today. So it'd be interesting to see whatever you can bracket this. I would look at BT like that. I think whichever way we come out of that bracket could be the short-term direction of BT. So close above 118 and we could pop up and see 140 plus. Stay in the range. We've always got the risk that we could come out the back of 108. So, but I would, you know what, I would buy that if we close above 118. I would try and buy a pullback and see if I can at least get that back to 140, 150. Let's look.
It's really weird with the UK stocks, isn't it? Because they're just a completely different story to the US stocks.
They're a radically different story. I mean, if you look at one of my favourite, or one of the obvious biggies in the US, Verizon, VZ. Yeah, this has come up from 49 to a high of 58. So and at the moment not looking as if it, it's holding up key support at the moment. So yeah, that's way better. Yeah, UK stocks are just about at least about three rungs down the ladder, I think.
Yeah, they are. Have a quick look at the airlines when you get a second, because IAG and EasyJet are both doing interesting things.
Tell you what, let's look at some US airlines. I haven't looked at US airlines for so long, I've forgotten their tickers.
Well, Monday, that's when Warren Buffett made that statement, so they have on Monday. UAL. Just have a look at. Wow. Yeah. No, that looks like a British stock, doesn't it? Yeah. Really suffering. Tell you what, I read somebody came out saying that they wanted to buy airlines now. He thought that they were oversold. There's always somebody out there that thinks something's oversold, isn't there? There's always somebody else on the other side of your trade. Well, I certainly wouldn't buy it. The jury's out. That's. Let's have a look at Ryanair. Let's look at it in London. And EasyJet. So lower closes. EasyJet. Lower close. Horrible. But good for shorting. Good for day trading. It is if you get nice and high. EasyJet worked very nicely on Scalper School today, actually. Oh, right. Okay, let's have a look. Just on the open, let me just. So, yeah, and it took a while to sort itself out. But yeah, where is the open? Yeah, I was short the DAX. So in other words, it opened at. There we go, isn't it? Yeah, it opened at 540. It opened in the opening range between 543 and 535. So 540 immediately breached low, and then it went right down. It took ages to come back up. Went right up again, and then it wound its way all the way down to what, 508. I mean, it's yeah. All these markets had a little spurt higher on. Between 9 and 10 o'clock. They do. Is that just? It doesn't look. I think I don't know if ECB or somebody was speaking, but I was short the DAX. I don't normally trade the DAX, but I thought it was such a great setup. Yeah. I shorted the DAX. I shorted up here at 7:30,
I thought, what a great trade, and it went right up to 775 and stopped me out.
Look at IAG, because exactly the same thing happened to IAG this morning.
Yeah, that's
At 9 o'clock it went crazy. Is it? Yeah, look at 9 o'clock. It just suddenly, it was hanging around at 194, and then at 9 o'clock it shot up. And similarly at 10:30, it went up through the sky up to 202. It went from 194 up to 202.
right.
And it just feels like sometimes somebody's had a chat with the market maker and say, come on.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
across the board, we got these. Something was happening there because we got a blip in all the markets. The pound, these stocks, everything, and the DAX. So somebody must have been some announcement or a bit of data. I don't know what, but yeah, I got caught out by it. I only had a busy position. I have to fill out a favour with the three times slower than the Dow anyway. So let's go back to the indices for a minute and just think about where we are in the bigger picture. Let's go back to, let's just look at a weekly, because we just spent 3 weeks. This is the 4th week where we are just knocking around. So we've had on the whole, two decisive moves, and the market just doesn't know what to do with this at the moment. So we're obviously going to get some horrible numbers on Friday for jobs, so that's a given. Question is the market going to see it as, the worst is behind us, and those numbers were priced in, and is this going to push off and do at least another retest of that resistance, or are they going to roll it over and bring it back to 22.5? So my preference is still, if you look at the way, my preference is still for them to drag it back, and then if we are going to see a pickup into the summer, or certainly in the next month or two, then that will be the 22.5 would be the ideal spot to at least dip my toe in the water with some of these stocks and some of these indices.
It just also feels though that there are just certain companies that are doing well, like 10 companies doing well, and everybody else is doing really, really badly. And unfortunately, we haven't got any of those 10 in the UK.
No.
Because actually the Dow is being held up, like you said yesterday. It's like Apple is pulling it up, and everyone else seems to be in the doldrums.
This is the big problem with the FTSE. There's just no big heavyweight techs in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bottom line. There's just no heavyweight techs there, and of course in the US, when the Dow we got the Apple, and the Nasdaq we got all the FANGs.
Yes.
In fact, let's have a look at some of the FANGs.
FANGs. What's a FANG?
Facebook, Apple,
Netflix.
Well, let's put Facebook on. I should be.
Can you just have also a quick look at a booking for me?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, this is what's holding the Nasdaq up. Well, one of the reasons why there's that gap up there. Really, really neat gap fill. This mega push up here on the 29th. One of the sole purposes of that was to close that gap. But subsequent pullbacks have held up. So I tell you what, this is a good barometer. If Facebook can't hold this 210, closes under 200, then watch out, because that ain't going to hold up. That's a good barometer. It's a good bellwether to look at. So you want me to look at?
Booking.com. The thing with Facebook though is they're in a lot of trouble with advertising revenue, aren't they? They've said their advertising revenue's gone down a huge amount.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're suffering with.
Yeah.
I mean, the general direction of Facebook is up, though, isn't it, in the recent past?
Oh, yeah, I think it's done. I think it's held up remarkably well. I think at the moment it still looks like a buy on dips at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, because it's, you know, and I suppose it's the kind of stock that if everyone is locked in their house, people are looking at Facebook a lot. And if you're going to advertise somewhere, you're going to advertise online, aren't you?
I read somewhere on, I mean, it must have been CNBC or something, that Airbnb was seeing a pickup in bookings with Europeans that think the restrictions are going to let them go on holiday this summer.
Mm-hmm.
The lift, you know, so Airbnb are seeing an uptick in bookings. Yeah.
Well, I think that Airbnb is the kind of place that people will book stuff.
Yeah. This booking.com,
it's a mess, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got this gap down here that has not been filled at 1280. So technical logics would suggest to me that we could come and see 1280, and then if we pop back up, that could be worth a shot. Unless, of course, it doesn't want to close the gap, and we start getting some higher closes at this 1380.
Yeah, it's coming down to quite a resistance level at 1340, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hit that a few times, that resistance level.
Yeah, I mean, so you've got a couple of scenarios there. If we start to close above 1390, that could pick up. Otherwise, certainly my preference would be for a gap fill and to start nibbling down there at 1285, 13. That would be my preference.
It looks like it's coming into viable though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's 1358 right now, isn't it? So when it comes, I mean, you want it at 1290. I think the resistance level is 1318. It will probably be a target for a buy at 1320. Do you reckon?
I would take it one day at a time. At the moment, it looks lower. Simple as that. Yeah, it's too heavy, lower. It's looking heavy. It's just don't see any evidence of buyers coming in there. We've got the sellers bars are quite high. Just take it one day at a time. I would want to see I'd want to see something like this. I want to see an absolute minimum of a couple of higher closes might do it. We had a nice golfing bar there on that day. But we just got nothing like that at the moment, so it's just a watch at the moment.
Okay.
Something to set an alert on. I'm going to set an alert on this. Let me start to see. I'm just going to go for a low alert. I'm going to stick an alert on there at 1292. And just keep an eye on it. Been talking about this one recently anyway, so let's just drag it up. Hovering. Carnival, it's just hovering. And again,
it didn't do anything today. It's just hanging around. It needs to go back upwards to 10 or something, doesn't it? Definitely.
Again, we've got a gap down here. I tend to think when something's hovering like that, I tend to think it needs a plunge to get some volume in it, to get some volatility in it. It's just whimpering. It's not, it needs some volatility to and a better price to attract people back in it, I think. That's my just general sort of quick take on it anyway. Let's look at, I want to look at some healthcare. So I'm just going to look at a few healthcares and then wind up. Let's look at good old Gilead. Gilead's just comes back on this major support. Let me get rid of that box. This is a mess. Let me just tidy this up. That's a decent trend line. Yeah, it's channeling. So we're at the bottom of a channel. If we start to see that close, I know it keeps getting upgraded and downgraded and this, that, and the other. But on pure technicals, if we come out the channel and immediately close back up, close above 75.80, that could go on a little run. Because if you look at the weekly, the weekly's a different story. Okay. That looks like it needs a lower number to get some volume back in that, but yeah, I would I would start to buy that if, like I said, if it dips underneath there and puts in a nice higher close in that 75.80 mark. I would start to see if I can get that back to 90 and 100.
Is it worth looking at a weekly for? I mean, the big Gilead has just launched this drug that might cure coronavirus. Surely the weekly isn't.
I think it's not so much a new drug as isn't it an arthritic drug or something?
Yes, it's something that already exists. But
yeah.
what I'm saying is, surely you're not looking at the same. You know, the whole story with Gilead that people are interested in is that drug.
Yeah.
So that's why this movement, because before the share price is so, it's like looking at two different companies, isn't it, between and now.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I would have thought the daily would be far more relevant than the weekly.
Yeah, I mean, I've just put a zone on that. If we dip underneath there but come back up, in other words, you know, maybe shake out some weak hands, shake out some stops down there, get some volume back in it. I would definitely I would start to buy that.
Seems a bit weird that they keep, you know, that they're not zonking up more. One that's just shot up today is Beyond Meat, isn't it? Because they had a really good profits announcement.
Yeah, but just quickly on this, I think it was downgraded last week by one broker and upgraded this week. So and brokers don't necessarily know anything anyway. You know, the market will price it in. So let's just see. Beyond Meat, yeah, BYND, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, BYND.
Wow.
I
Because I've been looking at, I was looking at Tyson Foods this week. I mean, just quickly on this one. Well, in theory, you know, go halfway, third around that. But in theory, that's a buy at 110, roughly 100, 110. If that's with a big push like that. I mean, there's certainly lots of buyers coming in here on Monday. A lot of buyers bought that dip on Monday, so makes you wonder if somebody had some insights there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at this one, Tyson, TSN. They came out with results a couple of days ago, I think. This is I think that's got some potential. Closed the gap. So this, I think it must have given results on Monday. Closed the gap on Monday. Closed higher on Tuesday. Sideways at the moment. I'm going to keep an eye on that one. Because if it starts to close above this little area here, I think that could do quite well. Quick whiz through some other. These are all too high. These are just, that's hitting resistance. I need a dip on that one. That's VNDA. Where's Bristol Myers Squibb? Yeah, it's hard. It's scanning for stocks at the moment. It's hard. You just need to. Yeah, some of the good stocks need some deeper pullbacks and so on. Anything else you wanted to look at? What else am I interested in? Anything else you want to look at, Jessica?
BP, maybe.
BP, okay.
Any of the oils. I'll tell you one that I've slipped to, actually, one that's really interesting is Anglo-African oil and gas. That's shooting up. That's gone up 159%.
Wow, Anglo
African.
hang on,
That's what they're doing.
Anglo African. Oh,
So,
I don't know why it's not letting me see that.
I can see it on mine.
That's why is that not?
Are you on do it on a 4-hour chart?
Hang on.
But do the 4-hour because it's on the daily. It's
Oh, is this a tiddler? Is this a really?
I think it must be because look, it's gone.
Yeah.
The price has gone from 20p to 78p.
Right. Got to be really careful on some of these. It's such an incredible thin market.
Yeah.
If they've only got, they might only have one market maker, and they can be very, very difficult to get in and out of.
Okay.
Particularly if it goes against you. I've come across people get stuck in these stocks, literally stuck.
But you can't sell them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I had a client who really got hooked on one stock.
Yeah.
And
ended up owning the company.
well, yeah, almost, yeah.
Have a look at BP and some of the oils. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to see where it is.
BP on it. Let's look at the daily. Yes, it's hanging like so many charts we look at, particularly UK stocks. Hanging.
It's range bound, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah, it's in that what have we got? 280 roughly to 340, 345.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, even moving within that.
Yeah, I've got an alert set for 281.
Do you think a lot of this is actually down to the Boris announcement? Do you think that actually the markets are waiting to hear what he says?
Yeah, I think that's got a lot to do with it. And we saw how the markets, 23rd of March, when UK went into lockdown, was a reversal day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's if we get it to Monday and the markets go bananas to the upside because Boris has lifted restrictions, then we just need to wait for pullbacks.
Yeah.
So rather than preempt and pre-guess, we just have to live, as a trader, I have to live with the fact that I may end up buying higher prices, but at least I'm not sitting there nervously on a weekend, particularly a long weekend that we've got, when it could go gap down and kill, take a bite out of my account.
Okay. So, I mean, but the only thing you could do would be to go long on the FTSE if you expected that the FTSE was going to go high.
Yeah, let's look at the FTSE. Because the FTSE hasn't got heavyweight techs, but one thing that does affect the FTSE is a weak pound, because there's so many FTSE players who trade in dollars. So if the pound's weak, that does not normally give the FTSE a squirt to the upside. So we hit bang on 50% on the 30th, and now we're just playing with this zone, this inner zone. So if the FTSE can come out of there next, early part of next week, that could get a push, and we have a gap up there at 64.60. So 6,400 roughly. Yeah, 64.50 roughly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's the case, that we could get a nice period of upside on these UK stocks that are drifting.
Well, you'd imagine that the fundamentals would push them up, wouldn't you? I mean, you know, if I think coming, like America is coming, is, you know, Trump is today has disbanded his virus team, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think if the message next week is right, we're coming out of, you know, we're coming out of lockdown next week, and you know, offices are going to start coming back, I'm sure that must, you'd expect that to give share, wouldn't you? I mean,
yeah,
I can expect the unexpected, but you know,
yeah. Good. Oh, listen, I want to leave it there. So I need to do a couple of things to my account before the beans market closes, and etc. etc. So yeah, let's just, yeah, a lot of these markets are sort of hanging in there anyway, not doing an awful lot. So yeah, let's just stay tuned and see what comes out of US jobs and the weekend, I think.
Okay.
All right.
Mike.
Thanks everybody, and I will see you soon.
See you on Sunday.
Okay. Bye.
Are you doing Sunday? Yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm doing Sunday, and I will.
Announcement on Sunday, so that will be.
Yeah.
The only thing is, when is it? Should be before 7, shouldn't it? I think it's about 5.
Yeah.
So
well, the trading room's open tomorrow as usual. If you're around, otherwise I'll see you on Sunday.
Yes. No, I mean, I'm just thinking for the Boris, it will be a good session on Sunday.
Yeah.
We have the Boris,
yes.
So we'll be able to predict what that's going to do. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.